Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of College Hockey Talk. On today's episode, I'm joined by junior from the Worcester State women's hockey team, Anya Laxton. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast today, Anya, and how's everything going?
Everything's going great. Thank you so much for having me, Matthew. It's an honor, honestly, and I'm very excited to be here today.
Yeah, and I'm excited to sort of get to know Division three hockey players just as well as Division one players because I feel like you guys don't get enough, I guess, media attention. So hopefully this helps out a little bit. But just doing some research here, obviously you guys have had a really solid regular season. So how's been the regular season so far for yourself with two games left? And I guess what are some positive things you've taken away from this year?
This season for myself has gone very well. There's currently a lot of competition on my team, which I personally really love because I find that it holds myself accountable and, constantly keeps me motivated to, going hard in practice, even in the classroom as well, because, we had such a strong overall GPA as a team as well. And just knowing that our entire team has very similar goals and, always is competing against each other as well as against other teams. Our team currently has 15 wins, and before our most recent loss, we had an 8 game winning streak. So, with our goalies both having over a 9.3 save percentage, we're all very competitive and have all very similar goals in winning and stuff. So.
And obviously, being a junior this year, what type of leadership have you tried to bring to the team? Are you a vocal leader, lead by example type of player? Like, how would you evaluate your leadership style?
My personal leadership style is definitely kind of like lead by example. I also like being very vocal in the locker room. Definitely being an upperclassman gives me a little bit more of a confidence boost, I would say. Our coach over the summer offered to all the returners on our team to do an Instagram takeover, and I was the first one for our team to volunteer and set the bar for the others. And my teammates actually reached out to me and thanked me for displaying that as an example, and it actually gave them the confidence to do it for them to volunteer after me as well, which I really loved, as well as we have a mentor program that we can kind of like volunteer for. Like the upperclassmen get to mentor the underclassmen and the incoming freshmen. So I definitely wanted to be a part of that, and I volunteered because my main goal is to help, all the incoming freshmen as well as even a transfer student to make them feel very comfortable on campus.
Yeah, I'm definitely I like the lead by example type of people because I feel like there's a lot of people that like they say stuff but they don't actually do it. And I feel like if you're gonna say something, you sort of have to follow that. I remember watching the Michael Jordan documentary, and obviously he had a very hard style of leadership, but the one thing he said is he would never ask someone to do something that he himself wouldn't do. And that's sort of how I try to, I guess if I was a leader, I would try to live by that motto.
Definitely, you always want to lead by example, and if you say something, you better follow through with it.
Now, you guys got to play at the DCU Center this past week. That was something that I found pretty interesting. I know that game didn't go your way, but how was that experience? Because I've played there before. Really exciting arena. So I'm assuming you had a good time there as well.
Oh my God, it was such an experience. Even though the game didn't go our way necessarily, playing at the DCU Center was truly an honor. Um, before the game on before our game, I got invited to go to the Worcester Sports Management Summit, and I actually heard the general manager of the DCU Center, Sandy Dunn, speak, as well as met the photographer for the Railers and made some great connections there. But the game was for cancer awareness, and I was playing in honor of my aunt, who's currently in remission for breast cancer, as well as my nana and my friend, who both sadly lost their lives to cancer. So the game truly meant a lot to me, and we wore custom jerseys that got auctioned off, and a bit of them, a bit portion got donated to Yardology, and I would really like to honestly thank David. Ray and the Yardology team for donating these custom jerseys and shirts for us because it was honestly awesome.
That's cool. My memory from playing there was, I don't know if you had this experience, was so we were technically the road team at the DCU Center. So our locker room was like literally in like the weirdest area ever. I remember like it was like where the Zamboni was or something. It was like some weird, I just remember it was like lawn chairs, like all set up around this. Like I remember it was like we had to wear our skate guards before like a certain point just so we wouldn't get them like rusty. So that was like one of the big things I remember from that experience.
That's so funny because, we actually sat on the lawn chairs as well. And it
Yeah.
was super hot. I don't know if you had the same experience, but it was super hot actually because we were like below everything. So the locker rooms were super like warm and toasty, and our whole team was sweating like crazy. It was really funny, but definitely an experience, a great one.
Yeah, for sure. I remember scoring a goal there. That's probably one of my best hockey memories I've ever had was scoring a goal there when I was like 12 years old. And RIP to the Worcester Sharks and their junior hockey program. But that was like one of my favorite hockey memories I've ever had.
That sounds like a great experience. And the goal on top of it, makes
We
you feel
lost
even,
the game, but like I'll always remember that goal. So
yeah, that's awesome. I love that.
now let's transition and talk about the beginning of your hockey career and kind of work all the way up to where you are today. So it says that you're from Holbrook, New York. So talk about growing up there and how did you start playing hockey?
So, growing up in New York is definitely a big experience. I loved growing up there. My hockey career started at the age of 7, and I played boys like rec league, like pickup type games, and then I transitioned into boys travel ice hockey because there's only two women's teams in Long Island, and I didn't transition to those teams until the age of 13. Women's hockey in Long Island especially is very small, so um, you only really had two teams to really choose from. So the main reason why I started playing ice hockey was because of my dad. My dad was committed to play college ice hockey at SUNY Brockport University, and he sadly decided not to play after the first semester due to the stress of athletics in college. And he doesn't have any regrets in life, but his one, I guess, regret is not playing
Mhm.
college hockey. So it was his dream to watch one of his children end up playing at the collegiate level. And now it's my dream and biggest motivator to keep playing in honor of him and all the sacrifices that he made for me growing up.
That's awesome. Who was your favorite player growing up? Was it someone on the Islanders or was it a women's player on the national team?
So shockingly, I am a Montreal Canadiens fan. I know it's
Oh,
a little crazy, but PK Subban was actually my favorite player growing up. He's always just a major role model for me, and not only everything that he's done on the ice, but off the ice as well for like Montreal Children's Hospital. And, you know, his defensive playing style really inspired me to actually be a defenseman after watching him play.
how do you handle all those Bruins fans surrounding you on campus?
I try to like keep it on the low that I'm a Montreal fan, not let everyone know. And if they do know, and obviously I do get chirped here and there, but I can definitely take a good chirp because being in the state of Massachusetts and being a Montreal fan is pretty difficult.
Yeah, especially now when the Canadians aren't playing that well and the Bruins are the best team in the NHL, so that must
Oh,
suck as well.
oh no, here we go.
It's true. I'm just saying that's the standings right now. I'm not saying that anything has
I
improved.
know. They're doing extremely well. I will give them that.
Yeah, I honestly like when I was growing up, I did not like PK Subban because I thought the way he treated Brad Marchand was very disrespectful. But then as I've gotten older, I've started to grow a little more respect for him. Just because I think once he left Montreal, that's when I started to like him more. And I
Mhm.
think how I sort of like grew to really like him was there was a player, a youth player on another team that was like dealing with racism. And he like made a video for that player, like saying like to not give up on his dreams and stuff. And I just thought that that was really nice. And obviously that stuff goes a long way.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, kind of like before, he does things off the ice that I've always like looked up to as a role model. And that's just a perfect example of how much of a role model he is, in my opinion.
Yeah, because it's so hard to be in the NHL, and you obviously have such a spotlight on you when you're in the NHL, especially as a superstar player like he did. And obviously, he used his, I guess, platform very well and still does because I see him on ESPN all the time.
Yeah, he definitely still does.
And then obviously, I love the nickname he gave Jack Hughes. I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he's given nicknames out all the time. He's a very funny guy. He definitely a great sense of humor.
Now, before college hockey, it said that you played for Kents Hill and the Casco Bay Mariners. So just talk about your experiences with those two organizations and how you got the opportunity to go to those organizations, especially since you said there wasn't a lot of women's hockey in Long Island.
Yeah. So I went to Kenso for 3 years, and I had truly a blast playing there, as well as just being there as well at prep school. If I could go back in time and do it all over again, I would do it in a heartbeat. Um, I feel as if prep school really prepared me better for college, as well as like the hockey training and the lifting schedule and like the intense time management skills that I had to learn at such a young age. It really honestly shaped me into the person that I am today, as well as all the connections that I made at Kensill. I mean, it was truly unbeatable. It's really funny because the school is super small, but all my teammates make fun of me because I'll go to another school to play a game, or even just walking around, and I'll see, oh my god, you went to Kensill, and I'll see a friend at another school and they'll be like, the school was so small, how do you know so many people? And I'm like, we're all connected in some kind of way. And it's honestly crazy. As well as Casco Bay, it was truly such a great experience, and I actually couldn't thank the coaching staff there enough, because without their knowledge and collegiate exposure help, I wouldn't have actually been in the current position I'm in with college hockey. So I had so much fun there as well. A lot of the girls went the Division 3 level, so I'm still in great connections with them as well.
Do you get to play against any of your teammates from Kents Hill or Casco Bay?
Yeah, so I actually just played against one of my old teammates, Bree Doobie. She currently plays for Western New England College. She played at Casco Bay, and I currently do not. Actually, I do currently play against one of my old teammates, Katie Nealon. She currently plays at Castleton, and always a great time seeing both of them. Very nice
Yeah,
girls.
it must be weird to play against them now after being their teammates for so long.
Definitely, I know it's I actually currently really I like playing against them, and it's almost like you look over and you're like trying not to be like, oh my god, like I played with you, like you're supposed to be my friend, but there's still that healthy competition there, and it's a great time for sure.
Now, you sort of answered my next question, but how did your time in those places help prepare you for college hockey? Obviously, it got you exposure.
Yeah.
But I must the prep school route, from what players were telling me, was it's sort of like college where you sort of have class and then have to balance hockey. And usually once you get to college, you sort of know how to manage your time, where a lot of other high school students have struggle with that just because they're not used to that time management. So I'm curious if that was sort of similar for yourself.
So I honestly felt as if, like prep school, the time management was crazy because it was a lot more like strenuous. Like you had to be up at 8 in the morning for a seminar, and then after seminar, you had morning meeting and then mandatory lunch. Like I honestly felt like the time management there was honestly more difficult, and it being more difficult kind of gave me more of like almost like a relaxation type vibe, like going into college, and honestly helped me set my gears right and be like, I already have done all this, like now I can transition that into what it's truly like being on my own, and almost set the bar for myself. It kind of gave me almost like a self-taught schedule type thing to do, and it really honestly helped me.
What's the best memory you have from your high school and junior hockey days?
So this is actually my funniest memory as well. Um, During my Kents Hill season, it was my first game as a sophomore, and they accidentally ordered me a men's extra large shell to put over my pants, instead of a youth extra large hockey pants shell. And it was one game, I had to wear it, and it was actually super funny. I beat around the defenseman and was on a full out breakaway, and all my teammates were cheering for me, and the shell actually fell off mid breakaway, and I ended up tripping over it and falling face first into the other team's net. And it's still something that my coaches from Kensel will talk about to this day, because it was a really funny experience.
Did you score at all or no?
I wish I did. I mean, I think it would have been a little, better of a story if I did, but not that particular time.
I feel like if I was the goal, I would like honestly start laughing, like, or just be so confused that I would probably just give up the goal because I wouldn't know what's going on.
The goalie was actually hysterical laughing and actually like tapped me on like the helmet and was like, that was really funny. I'm not gonna lie.
At least you made someone's day, so you can sort of use that. That's how I would view it.
Right. I think we were actually winning at the time. So, the goalie was definitely like not in the, best spirits, but after that they were definitely like, wow, they were like, that was actually really funny.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's one of the better hockey stories I've heard so far, so I'll give you that.
Definitely an interesting one.
Now, originally you played for Becker College, so I'm curious what the recruiting process was like there, and I guess what made you want to go to that school versus the ones you looked at during your initial recruiting process.
So I actually got recruited to go to Becker College out of a East Coast Wizards showcase tournament. And the assistant, Ray Monroe, as well as our head coach at Becker, Eliza Kelly, who are both currently our assistant and head coaches at Worcester State as well. They reached out to me and gave my coach their card after one of my games. And they showed extreme interest in me from the start, and that was something that I really was like, wow, like this is awesome. And after communicating with them for a little bit, after all that interest that they showed in me, I decided to then tour the school and have a overnight. Um, and after getting that tour and everyone making me feel like so much at home, and like the community vibe was awesome, and I really enjoyed the small campus feel as well as the way that the team treated me, and the coaches treated me as well. um, I definitely consider that to be one of my top choices, and ended up going there almost instantly after the tour and deciding to commit there. I really also love the unique academic buildings, as well as like the unique like vibes of like the dorms. It was honestly like no other campus I looked at the time, and it was truly a great experience. So that's one of the main factors that made me choose Becker College, as well as the amazing rink facility at Fidelity Bank Ice Center, which is our current facility at Worcester State as well.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that. Um, I'm also curious, like, what was your experience like for that 1 year, on the ice and off the ice? What'd you learn from that time? And I guess just talk about your 1 year at Becker.
So, my main takeaway from my time at Becker was, to live your life and your time somewhere at the fullest, because you never know how abruptly it could actually be taken away from you. And my connections at Becker, I made some lifelong friends, and it was truly an experience. And it was beyond heartbreaking knowing that our school ended up going bankrupt. But definitely the main takeaway was to um, live somewhere, or live your life at the fullest at the place that you love, because you really never know when it's going to be gone.
What was the biggest adjustment you had to make to college hockey when you were at Becker? Was it the speed of the game, physicality, decision making? Like, what stood out to you the most, and how did you adjust to it?
So my biggest adjustment that I definitely had to make was the speed, because nothing really prepares you for that. I would say the game is much faster than it was in high school. So working on my quickness, awareness, and my strength freshman year was my overall main goal.
Now, like you mentioned, unfortunately, the school went bankrupt. So how did you handle that challenge of knowing that your career was over at Becker? And then a sucker punch on top of that is COVID took place that same year. So that's not just one whammy, it's two whammies. So how did you sort of handle that challenge? And I guess how did it lead you to come to Worcester State, being a transfer student?
It was definitely a huge and emotional shock at first. I think our whole team. I remember sitting with actually a few of my teammates in my dorm room, and we were all just started honestly crying because we were so scared. We weren't even sure if we were even going to be able to finish our semester there, so we were like really, really, really nervous. But I can't thank my family and my friends enough for supporting me, and always having my back in that time period, whether it was a phone call at 3 in the morning being like, I don't know what I'm doing, or stuff like that. They always had my back, and my loved ones really helped me throughout the time. What led me to actually transfer to Worcester State is very ironic. So our team found out that, Becker was closing through an email that was sent to us at the end of January 2021. And within a half hour of, that email being sent, our coach texted us instantly and, scheduled a meeting with everyone. And in that meeting, it actually started out kind of as like a joke. That was brought up to start kind of like, and reach out to Worcester State to see if they would have us as a girls program. And we heard that they were like planning on starting one as well. So, we were like, coach, like you should reach out. And, our coach, she always goes above and beyond for us and the extra mile, whether it's like, making sure we have the best locker room, the best jerseys, our last names on the back. She even actually subbed in as a lacrosse coach for the Becker team when the coach fell ill with COVID-19 at the NCAA championships. So, I'm obviously beyond thankful for everything that she's done. And our coach, Eliza Kelly, was actually able to build the program that we have now at Worcester State. And I chose to, stay with her and, be along for the whole process. And, all the efforts and sacrifices that she's always made for the team, and her great coaching style is something that I really, really, really liked. And she made the transfer process, and the entire athletic department, as well as Mike Mudd, made the transfer process for us extremely, extremely easy and, as less stressful as possible. And would really like to thank them for that as well. As well as, I really liked Worcester State's campus and, the academics that it had, and all the, all of the, offers that it had for us, and really made all of me and my teammates on the tour that we actually had there feel like home, and, were insanely accepting and wanted us to be there. So it was great.
That's kind of tough to find out your college is getting bankrupt through an email. I feel like there would be some sort of announcement, but I guess that's the way things work sometimes.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it was definitely a shock. And actually, I remember vividly calling my dad on the phone, and he was laughing. He was like, I know Anya liked to play pranks on me, but like this is definitely like this is a far one. This is really funny. And I'm like, Dad, I promise you, I'm actually not joking. Like, this is for real right now. And he's like, let me see the email. He genuinely didn't believe me. And I forwarded him the email, and he was like, wow, like, this is scary. But, I look at it almost as in like a positive experience, because, obviously I had an amazing time at Becker. And the sad part about it is that, even though like the school closed down, it became a great opportunity for us over at Worcester State. And I try to look at it as in a positive note.
Now, doing research on your conference, it says that you play in the ECHA, and doing some research on it seems very brand new, because I think there's only like 3 or 4 teams in that conference. So just talk about playing there, and just talk about, I guess, the competition that you face every weekend.
In the ECHA conference, Worcester State, is definitely the team to beat right now, especially after winning the conference last year. We know that all the other teams are definitely currently out for us and are, always going to step up their games in order to beat us and bring their best at all times. So we know that we, as a program, always have to bring our best and set the pace in the bar, and embrace ourselves, as well as, the lead position that we currently have, as well as set the fast-paced game tempo like we always do.
And like you mentioned, last season you won your conference championship over Anna Marie. What emotions were you going through after winning that conference championship, especially since you went through so much the prior year with the school getting bankrupt and sort of going through that process? So that must have been nice to sort of go through one like awful emotion to one like joyful emotion.
Oh yeah, it definitely was. I vividly remember winning the championship. While being like, a first year program was beyond exciting, and beyond exciting to be able to tell people. Obviously, I remember like, crying tears of joy with my teammates, and just everyone just jumping on top of each other and hugging each other after all the hardships that we had to overcome and face. It was especially amazing winning at our home ice as well. The overall atmosphere for the game was amazing, both our fans and their fans. I remember fans hanging off the glass behind the nets, and how really dedicated and into the actual game they were. And the team really wanted to perform for ourselves, but as well as our school, and being a new program, and after everything that we endured in 2021, it was awesome to be able to hold that trophy in 2022, as well as holding a banner with my teammates. It's just something like you're really never going to be able to forget. You know, we all as well put the trophy back in the case on campus, and it was a huge marker for our program, as well as contributing to the success of the history of that our athletic department has. Felt beyond amazing and truly an unforgettable experience.
Now, what are your team's goals and expectations for the rest of this season? It says they have two more regular season games left, so I'm curious if it's like when the playoffs start, and I guess your goals for those last two regular season games, and then when playoffs start, your goals obviously for that as well.
Yeah, so obviously our main goal is to win those two games and be 19-7-1, which would be awesome, and be actually a program best for our team, which would also contribute winning the ECHA tournament, which is our definite goal for right now. To be able to win the championship for the second year in a row would be a true honor and a real eye opener, I feel, as if for our program and our team. Some other goals just for myself is, to stay hungry and work hard every day and keep on grinding.
So we're now in a segment I like to call the non-hockey segment. We're asking some non-hockey questions just to get to know you a little bit more off the ice, as well as some of your teammates. So first question is, what music do you like to listen to?
So I like to listen to a lot of rap and R&B as well as pop. My top favorite artists are definitely Bryson Tiller, Drake, Nicki Minaj, and The Weeknd.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, I'm sort of similar to that. I like listening to everything. I don't understand people that like don't listen to only can listen to like one specific genre. Like that I find that kind of crazy. Like I like my playlist has like Frank Sinatra, Bruno Mars, then like Drake and Justin Bieber. It's like very all over the place. So I definitely agree with you. Those are some good artists.
I'm definitely super similar. I mean, I wasn't really big into country growing up, but my best friend is a big country listener. So, I'm actively listening with her and, learning more and more. I love all genres for sure.
Yeah, I was the same way with country. It's not really that popular, at least up here in the Northeast, when I was growing up. But I worked for a baseball team a couple summers ago, and a lot of those guys are from like down south and the West Coast, and country music's huge there, so they'll constantly listen to it. And that's sort of how I got into it, was just by listening it from an outside perspective, being on that team.
Definitely. Yeah, that's exactly how I pretty much got into it as well. Everything is also because I feel like when there's a person that you like very enjoy being around, and it's something that they enjoy, you'll learn to enjoy it as well.
Yeah, those guys were awesome. Definitely good guys, and some of them just got drafted into the MLB as well. So, very cool experience getting to work for that team down on the Cape. One of my more fond memories in sports so far.
That's awesome. I'm sure you made some real great memories down there, and some unforgettable moments for sure.
Yeah, like honestly, we didn't make the playoffs, but I think the best memory I have was like that final regular season game we won. I'm not on the team, I was just sort of helping them out, but we won, and then we got to go mini golfing after, and that was probably like one of the coolest memories that I remember from that season.
Oh my God, that sounds like a lot of fun. I love mini golf.
Now, what is your most embarrassing hockey moment? I guess it's the pants incident. So I don't know if there's might be something else, but I can give you mine if you want.
I would love to hear yours.
So basically, this was youth hockey, and we were doing backward skating drills on the blue line. And someone forgot to close the bench door, and I wasn't paying attention, and I fell in the bench, and it was definitely very embarrassed because I didn't want like I was the youngest player on the team, so I wanted to seem like I was cool in front of the older players, and that just didn't help at all. but luckily I wasn't hurt from it. But that was definitely that's one I remember like that. It still embarrasses me a little bit today, but luckily there's no like videos of it.
Oh my God. I've had my fair share of, falls. I definitely fall a lot. So I can relate to that one for sure.
Yeah, just it's not my fault though. Someone just didn't close the
Yeah.
bench door, so
Yeah.
I don't I still don't know who forgot to do it. It's probably one of the goalies. They seem to forget about that sometimes. So,
Yeah, definitely not your fault.
what is the most overrated holiday and what is the most underrated holiday?
So I know it just passed, but in my opinion, I think Valentine's Day is actually the most overrated holiday because I feel like, it's just like a profit maker for like companies, honestly. I don't know like, the exact like terminology for that, but I definitely feel like it's definitely a big money maker for them. And I feel like the most underrated holiday has to be Halloween. I know that's like kind of similar, but I actually really love candy. So, especially when it's free, it tastes much better.
Yeah. My opinion is underrated is probably 4th of July. It's always fun gathering around with, family and friends and having a barbecue. And there's not many summer holidays. I feel like a lot of them fall in the fall or spring. So I always enjoyed that. It's always fun to be patriotic once in a while. So, and then I would say Super Bowl is also underrated. I don't know if that's considered a holiday, but I enjoy just sort of similar hanging out with family and friends and watching that game. Overrated, I definitely agree with you for Valentine's Day. I definitely think it's overrated, but I will say I feel like a lot of girls love like that holiday when they're in a relationship. So so it's one of those things like if you're a guy, you sort of have to do it. But I definitely agree with you that it's a bit overrated. And as long as you do it more than just on not on Valentine's Day, like just showing appreciation for your significant other, that's all that counts. And Halloween, I think, is a bit overrated, just because if you're not into dressing up, like I feel like there's not much for you to do on that holiday because I'm not a kid anymore, so I can't go trick or treating.
Right, right. I completely agree. If you're not big into dressing up, I'm definitely a person who, loves dressing up through my whole life, in costumes and, even dressing up now for like, very like fancy events and stuff. I That's definitely my go-to. So I have some of my like, best memories as a kid, running around with my siblings and eating candy. So that's why I definitely feel as if it's my favorite
Yeah,
holiday. Sure.
yeah. I like dressing up for like fancy stuff, but like being in a costume, like I don't know, I feel that it's just I
It's
don't feel
so
comfortable sometimes doing
yeah,
it.
definitely.
I feel like that might maybe that's a guy thing. I don't know. Getting back to the next non-hockey question is what is your biggest pet peeve?
So my biggest pet peeve is definitely, people who chew very loud. I have vivid memories of, my mom driving 8+ hours for me and my siblings to a hockey tournament and, her chewing on her gum while driving. And her excuse was that she had to do it because she was driving and it would keep her awake. So definitely that is my big one for sure.
My big one is probably bad drivers. Unfortunately, in the state of Massachusetts, it seems like all of them are deciding to move up and live here. So that's been sort of an interesting experience. So I can't stand bad drivers. Like it's, I'm trying my best to be more calm, but there are times where like someone does something where I lose my mind. So that's when the Massachusetts in me gets out a little bit. But that's definitely my biggest pet peeve.
I feel, being from New York as well, I definitely have a slight amount of road rage. So I definitely can relate to the bad driving part and getting frustrated with that.
If there was a movie made about your life, who would you want to play yourself?
So I would feel as if I would want Kevin Hart to play me because I think he's extremely funny. And I feel like he would make like my funny situations even more funny because of like
Yeah.
how much of a comedian and a great actor he is. And, I definitely would like for him to play me, honestly. I feel like it would be very funny.
I think for me, probably, I don't know, Tom Cruise would be cool because you think he's kind of a badass. So that'll be
Mhm.
kind of cool to say Tom Cruise played you in a movie, even though like my life isn't that interesting. So I don't know what action scenarios he would be able to pull off, but I'll be interested to see how he would do it.
I think he would do, I definitely think he would do a great job.
Now, let's ask some questions about some of your teammates. Who is the funniest on the team?
The funniest on the team has to be either, honestly such a tough question. My best friend number 5, Kaylee Ryan, or uh, oh, it's a very hard toss up. I'm gonna stick with Kaylee Ryan. She's the funniest for sure, in my opinion.
Now, you probably have the best style on the team, but besides yourself, who has the best style on the Worcester State women's hockey team?
I would definitely have to say number 70, our goalie, Amberly, by far. Other than me, of course, has the
Yeah.
best style on the team by a landslide.
Yeah, number two, number two.
Yeah, number two. I'm number one, but she's a solid number two, for sure.
Yeah, number two is probably the most impressive because obviously you're not even close to number one on the team. So I think I would take number two. That's a good honor to have.
Exactly.
Now, last non-hockey question is, what is the most interesting thing you've read or seen this week?
So I was actually looking at the news this morning, and I saw that there was actually like a rising sea level threat that might pose like risks of like mass migration, which I found super frightening. But with all like the global warming and stuff that's going on right now, it's shocking. But you almost want to say sea levels rising with global warming. It's definitely bound to happen. It's a scary
Yeah.
situation.
Oh yeah, I totally agree with you on that. I guess the most interesting thing that I saw was one was the Kelsey brothers playing against each other in the Super Bowl. I just thought that was pretty cool. And then I saw a cool video of someone's like doing a thing called trying to get rejected, where he would just go up to random people and ask to do weird stuff, and the goal was him to get rejected. And I thought it was actually a really good lesson into it. It's just sort of like never be afraid to like try to meet new people and try cool things. Because some of the times these people would actually let him do some of the cool stuff. Like he got to tour milk farm in like Ohio, and he got to go like announce a baseball game, like say the starting lineup. So I just thought there was a good lesson into that. It's just sort of like get out of your comfort. It's not a bad thing to get out of your comfort zone and try to meet new people and try new things, even if it might seem scary to do that. And that's something I'm trying to learn myself. So I thought that was pretty interesting.
That's super awesome. I feel like a main takeaway from that, uh, after hearing that, I feel like confidence is key. If you're confident, you'll be able to do anything you want. So I definitely feel like that's a very awesome news article or
It was like a
video.
video. It was like a video. Yeah, I know. I just found it on YouTube and I just thought it was interesting. So I'm glad I found it. Definitely got a lot of good perspective from it.
Definitely.
Well, getting back to some hockey questions now. First one is, what should be done to help grow women's hockey from your perspective?
Definitely from my perspective, I wish we had more media coverage, um, as well as and like covering our games, whether it's collegiate games, and NWHL games, Olympic games, as well as I know it might be a little controversial, but help growing the game in the sense of allowing us to body check. I feel as if even though our game is already very fast paced, I think it will actually make it honestly faster, being able to play the body as well as the puck.
No, I totally agree with you. I think for refereeing purposes, it makes sense because there's refs that are super strict about it, and then there's refs that are loose about it. I've said this multiple times on the pod, but I feel like if a team's really good on the special teams, they can sort of use a strict ref to their advantage and sort of get a lot of power play opportunities and win the game. And I don't think that's the right way to sort of do it. And then if a ref's loose about it, a team that's more physical can sort of push the boundaries a little bit and sort of use it to their advantage. I think it makes the game more fair if you allow body checking. And obviously, like I feel like it makes no sense that, guys are allowed to hit and girls aren't allowed to hit. It seems a bit sexist to me, but that's also my opinion as well.
I completely agree with your opinion. I mean, I honestly couldn't agree more. Um, I feel as if, just like you said, teams will take advantage of that and, help them in the sense of, getting a power play or something. But I also feel like it'll make the game like as a defenseman, like much more like easier. I played boys hockey growing up, even all throughout like, before high school and stuff. So learning how to, body check was one of the main goals there at a young age. And I just feel like it'll really definitely help grow the game and make honestly the game more interesting to watch as well.
Yeah. Have you ever had any big hits that you didn't mean to, obviously, in women's hockey?
I definitely had a few. Um, I definitely had a few on me as well.
It's bound
Um,
to happen.
bound to happen. I mean, and majority of them, other girls hitting me were clean. So, but sadly they did get penalties for it because it's not allowed. But I definitely, would wish we would definitely shift our game a little bit more and be able to hit, because it'll definitely
Yeah.
grow the game for sure.
I always feel bad though when there's a picture taking of it and a girl's getting like bodied. Like I always feel embarrassed seeing that. That's always tough. But I do think I agree with you that body checking should be allowed. I don't know why it's not, especially in 2023.
Couldn't agree more. Could not agree more.
Now, for all the younger listeners that are listening to this pod, what advice would you give them on what it takes to make it to the college hockey level where you are today?
So, my biggest tip of advice to younger player would definitely be, to always have fun. Almost always, never give up on your goals as well. Even when hockey might not necessarily be going your way, try to stay positive. One thing I did growing up was actually, have a journal, and, I would always write in my journal before bed or even after a game. And after a game, even if the game was bad or you felt as if you had a bad game, write down one positive moment that happened either in the locker room, during the game, or something funny that a teammate did, or one good play that you made. And always look back on all those like happy and positive moments and use them as motivation and goals to set. And write down a goal as well, like you know um or something that you can improve on, like I accidentally iced the puck, next game not gonna ice the puck.
Hmm.
And use it as motivation for sure.
Now, what players from your team is there any players on the team that we should have on the podcast next? I would tease a little bit. There will be definitely more interviews with your team in the fall. So that's a little tease for anyone listening. But any players that we should have on in the future?
I think all of my teammates would be, more than amazing candidates to have on the podcast. But, after me, I would definitely say our oh, she is our captain currently, but she will be graduating. Her name is Claire Conway. I think she'd be a great speaker.
Awesome. Well, do you have any shout outs you want to give to any of your teammates, family members, friends, anyone that might be listening? Feel free to give them a shout out now.
I would definitely like to shout out all my siblings, without them being by my side and, always keeping me in line, I would not be the person I am today, as well as my parents and all the sacrifices, they made for me growing up, driving me all over the globe for ice hockey. Um, I'd also like to thank all of my coaches, actually, growing up, throughout my entire career, because they've shaped me into the player and person I am today, as well as my current coaches, Eliza Kelly, Raymond Rowe, Paul Dowdery, and T. Putinga, as well as our hockey manager, Mark Clemente, and our athletic trainer, Sarah Carver, as well as, the entire Worcester State Athletic Department and Mike Mudd for making everything possible for us here.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast, Anya. I had an amazing time getting the chance to know you and talk with you today. And hopefully, we'll have you on the podcast next season as well in person. That'll be a lot of fun. But can't wait to see you play. And good luck for the rest of the season. And hopefully, you guys win that championship again.
Thank you so much. It was truly an honor being here, and thank you for having me.
Well, thanks again for coming on. I really